Edge of America, I'm Rick Amato. U.S. officials have obtained an internal Chinese Defense Department memo which discusses preparation for a people's war in space, cyber warfare against the United States. Joining me at this time is a gentleman who has obtained the memo, has seen the memo, and has written about it. He is senior editor for the Washington Free Beacon and national security reporter Bill Gertz. Hey, Bill, welcome back to the show. First of all, before we go into how the U.S. obtained the memo, what's in the memo, let's get down to basics. That's kind of an unusual phrase, I think, for a lot of people. Space warfare, cyber warfare, people's war in cyber warfare. Explain what that all means, if you would, please.
Sure. First of all, this is a very important revelation from inside of the Chinese defense industry. In the Chinese government system, cyber warfare operations are part of the most secret programs. In fact, officially and even in private meetings with U.S. officials, the Chinese officially deny that they have any space warfare or any cyber warfare programs. This document proves that they in fact do have a very aggressive program. They talk about attacking satellites in space, what they refer to as the outer node of the internet. They talk about using hard targeting, hard kill and soft kill, that is both kinetic weapons and cyber weapons, things like viruses, things like network bombs that can explode inside of software. So it's a very important in understanding what's going on in the realm of cyber warfare. Now, the United States is also working on cyber warfare capabilities. So this document shows that it's not just the U.S. that's doing that.
And how did U.S. officials obtain this document? I mean, maybe I'm naive here, but I would think that it's rare that we're able to obtain internal Chinese Defense Department top secret memos.
Well, this is another benefit of the internet information age. So much of what is produced even in China now is not just limited to paper documents. They actually have digital documents. The U.S. has programs, the U.S. government has programs to try and obtain these kind of writings from various journals. In this case, they were able to get a copy of a particular journal called Aerospace Electronic Warfare. Even the name of that journal itself tells you a lot. And this was published fairly recently in there and translated from the Chinese. That's really what takes a lot of the work, because these are fairly technical documents, and to be able to translate them and get them to officials is very important, and they're starting to do that.
Sounds like the sort of work that Edward Snowden might have been involved in, now that I hear you describe it. So the U.S. has a superior military to China. This idea of cyber warfare in space, it would allow them, if successful, to remove that advantage that the U.S. has militarily. Is that correct, the way I understand it?
Yes, and in fact, the Chinese military, in fact, uses the term trump card weapons or assassin's mace. And basically, it goes back to ancient Chinese strategy, which was a period about 1000 AD when they had what was known as the Warring States era. That was where they had a lot of different feudal warlords. And they used assassin's mace or trump card weapons, which allowed a weaker power to defeat a stronger one. The Chinese military has taken that ancient Chinese strategy and applied it to their military modernization program, which they call informationization. In other words, it's what the U.S. military calls the revolution in military affairs. And they've begun to do that with their weapons. Cyber is one, space weapons is another, anti-ship ballistic missiles, a unique missile that can go into space and have enough accuracy to come back and target an aircraft carrier at sea.
Are we able to determine how far down the road they are on this? I mean, is this something that's still years away from being a threat to the U.S., or are we at that stage now or near that stage now?
Yeah, it's basically it's a combination of factors. They are making a lot of progress in their military modernization, and a lot of these weapons are coming online in the next few years. For example, their anti-ship ballistic missile is now operational. It poses a great threat to the U.S. Navy, which is required to provide freedom of navigation for allies and friends in Asia, where there's so much trade going on. As it relates to cyber warfare, the officials that I talk to say that the Chinese are probably third after Russia and the United States in the ability to conduct very sophisticated attacks. Now, as far as intelligence gathering goes, they would probably be at the top of the list. That is the idea of breaking into computer systems and stealing large amounts of information. In that category, they're clearly number one. I think the amounts and value of information has been placed at the tens of billions of dollars a year in U.S. corporate information and government secrets that are being stolen by the Chinese through cyber espionage.
So we stole their document, which revealed they were stealing our documents. You mentioned tens of billions of dollars in corporate espionage and so forth. In the revelation of the Edward Snowden scandal, in your opinion, Bill Gertz, you are a sophisticated national security reporter. You've been around these issues many times, for a long time, I should say. Did the U.S. lose the moral high ground on scolding the Chinese in the public arena on their activities of cyber, stealing cyber documents, hacking corporate computers? Because it seems like that's been our MO to have President Obama or George W. Bush, but Obama comes to mind more recently, of course, you know, go out publicly and just scold the Chinese for being poor international citizens. Have we lost that moral high ground in light of this Edward Snowden revelation?
I would say, I would give you a mixed answer. I'd say yes and no. In the one sense, the Snowden affair is a massive security failure. A low-level technician was able to gain access to incredibly valuable secrets.
That is amazing.
Significant.
That is amazing. I don't mean to interrupt you.
And it's not the first time. It's the second time this has happened. First, we had the Bradley Manning compromise, where hundreds of thousands of. Now we've got even more damaging to our national security capability, and it's being used to attack this capability. That's the one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is clearly the government was not being honest about what kinds of data it was collecting on Americans. And I think the impact of that is that it has broken an important trust between the American people and the government over how the government is using these important powers to go after terrorists by not being considering the important civil liberties and libertarian, if you will, concerns about privacy.
Do you think that Snowden was a traitor or a patriot? Taken by, I'm going to assume you think perhaps both, given your response a moment ago.
Well, I don't think he's a patriot. I would put him in the category of a defector. That is somebody who comes from a kind of anarchist, anti-American position. He's part of this whole cabal of the Russians, the Chinese, the Venezuelans, the Cubans, the North Koreans, and WikiLeaks, which have kind of taken on the United States, which they regard as the main problem in the world, and they're doing everything they can to kind of undermine the United States. So I wouldn't exactly put him in the traitor category, although I'm sure a lot of people would, but I would say he's a defector who has definitely turned against his country.
Bill Gertz, Washington Free Beacon. As always, the information is timely and revealing. We appreciate you joining us.
Thank you very much.
All right, we come back. Darrell Issa has the Treasury Department in his crosshairs.